Hello everybody, this is Maniac for Bricks, and I'm here at BrickFair, New Jersey 2021 with my MOC display, which will be over by one of the two garden slug tables. You'll know because there's a dark red castle on the opposite end of it. It'll be easy to find. And it's also towards the front, so most people will get to circulate around. I've already seen some people go through, just casually watch from the side, and it's going good so far. So I'm going to take a walk through here in case you haven't seen any of these before. Most of them have been at other shows previously. There's only one or two additional ones or modifications to what I've brought before that I wanted to share along with the whole layout. So I'm going to start off from right to left. We got the tennis court, which was one of my favorite almost modular scale kind of buildings. This is something that I built a couple years ago. I actually had it originally with just one tennis court in a smaller Lego city at my house. And I decided to expand upon it so it would fit with other Lego cities for other shows. It also stands very well on its own, having the two courts, the two nets. I had a lot of those lattice fence pieces. It works out very well there. One of my favorite parts about it is the ice cream scoop used as a stack of tennis balls. Very simple, but very effective in this use. You have little doors that can open up and close, a water fountain on the outside, and a couple different minifigures playing with different tennis rackets. Kind of like in the older sets, like the Fire Brigade, I decided to use some of the paddle pieces with a 1x1 stud, so that'll actually look like it's hitting the ball. There's another really good moving tennis racket, or tennis court thing, right across from me, actually. I got to watch that one back and forth earlier yesterday, and props to that guy because he knows his technique. He knows his motorized stuff. He did a really good job on that one, actually moving the ball back and forth over the nets and switching with just one gear or so the audience, like watching the ball go back and forth. Next up we have a baseball field, a baseball diamond. I sometimes have expanded this one to actually have green 32x32 base plates for a bigger outfield on it, but I also used it. Sorry, go ahead, Ed. But I'd done that before, which is just adding a little more width to the outfield. Didn't really add any extra fencing with it, however. I've always wanted to add onto this a batting cage. Like, if I expanded the field itself, outside of it would be, maybe having some bleachers and having a batting cage using the soccer nets from the early 2000s. But for right now, this covers exactly what it needs to, with just having the infield. Very focused on that. The players are actually from the Build a Minifigure section of the store, the Lego store. So they each have the Champs torso with a glove added to them. I've actually had this over the couple of years with different teams that would be playing. The Lego Movie cast, The Simpsons, a couple other ones here and there. And the other team that's on here is actually a custom print from Eclipse Graphics. I commissioned having these little Garden Slug shirts and then calling the team the Garden Sluggers. Sluggers being a baseball term. So that fits together very nicely. None of them are based on anyone from Garden Slug. I tried doing that at one point, but I was okay without it. And the umpire is literally just the same thing as the collectible minifigure hockey player. So sitting out there in the back, same minifigure with just the torso turned around or something to remove the emblem. Then moving over, we have Bionicle. A couple of different things I've built over the years. This one I built, I want to say, over 5 years ago, and probably one of the finest ones I've ever built. Like, even as a kid, I don't think I've built anything this complex. Having a lot of articulation, and a lot of different pieces used in it, and he's called the Scavenger. So he's a kind of a desolate figure that collects different artifacts and relics and tinkers with them. Kind of like me. Here and there. Except for the lonely part. I try not to harp on that. This one I built in 2020 is a small turtle. And this was based on one of the Bionicle games where they had creatures that would roam around the island not all of them were made official sets, and this one I tried to make myself. It actually turned out pretty well. It would look a little bit better if everything was in teal, but not all the parts exist officially in that color. This one, I did not add the MOC card in time for the show, but this is actually a contest entry that I had back in the day. LEGO ran several different Bionicle contests, and one of them actually having the ability to, for many winners, would be able to fit into a Scholastic book, Rahi Beasts. Unfortunately, mine didn't make it into there, but it was still an interesting design. Almost looks squid-like. It's actually supposed to be plant-like, with having all those ends of it being different branches, you know, reaching out. Almost root-like, actually, now that I think about it. It was kind of based on the Bionicle story itself. It wasn't completely original, but the design was never actually made as a LEGO set. So, I took it upon myself. And this is a recreation of it from photos that I had back in the day, a little bit of memory, and tweaking some things here and there just to make it look more consistent. Next up, it's me, as a sig fig and as a Bionicle figure. I made this earlier this year in 2021 for Virginia, decided to bring it back, and it looks a lot better this way. But I think there's only one or two parts I still need to change with it. I just didn't add them in from the Bricklink order from BrickFair before the show, but I'm still happy with how it turned out. Still can recognize how the two look together. The Micro Expedition balloon is honestly one of my favorites that I made last year, and I'm happy to finally bring it back for shows. But this time I've actually brought it with the set proper. I brought it to Virginia without the set, and I think some people still got it, especially by the card and the numbering, but it looks a lot better, again, seeing the comparison between that and the original model. The only problem that I have is that this piece went missing. There was supposed to be a fin piece on the back of it that somewhere along the way has been missing, and I'll need to find a new one. I think when I got it before, it was from BrickLink, maybe a light gray. I don't think they ever made a light bluish gray one, so I'll have to figure that out. I do have an idea when I get it to fasten it in place, but I have to find the piece first. Sorry. Look at me going against the grain. Everybody move left to right, and I'm going right to left. That's on me, though. This is definitely the highlight. This is the one that most people enjoy from the shows. I remember that several years ago when I was on the Iceberg Bricks YouTube channel, he voted this one as his favorite MOC and also my favorite MOC. I said one of the other ones was my favorite, but he convinced me, yeah, this actually is pretty good. I would love to build more with different building techniques, especially the checkerboard design and using different parts different ways. My sig fig is actually sitting inside of Audrey 2 right there, as this is based on The Little Shop of Horrors. I had the checkerboard design for a long time before making this MOC, and this was the best way I could use it. I'd love to make a diner at some point to make it even further. And this is an official Hero Factory piece. Actually, 3 of them put together as a cocoon. Basically the inspiration behind it, and it still amazes people that it was a real Lego piece. Next up, this one sometimes gets lost on people, but it is still a fun one, and nonetheless, based on the Breakfast Club movie. This is the end credits scene with John Bender walking across the football field, raising a fist in the air after the weekend detention of the movie. The background could be much better. I tried a couple different ways of setting that up. Even the trees in the background don't look as great, but I do love the bleacher design with the forced perspective. Next up we have Big Bird, and this was made before the Sesame Street set came out. I did this in a way to make my best guess as what Big Bird would look like as a minifigure, and then lo and behold it becomes an actual set from ideas. So I feel inclined to at least get the minifigure to put with it. But I'm still proud of what I did, just making my own giant minifigure sculpture. Although, to be fair, there's 1 or 2 shows where some kids called it Bonnie, or not Bonnie, they called it Chica from Five Nights at Freddy's. Probably because it looks so square and kind of robotic. But it is what it is. Next up, we have the Cinderella glass slipper, which is pretty neat. I mean, this is a challenge that I had for myself of trying to make with as little elements as possible. Other than the base plate, I originally used this with only 2 elements, 1x2s and 2x2 slopes. But it also had a lot of breakages. Every show I'd have to repair it at some point, and in some way it did actually change design. So I added a little bit more onto it. I actually, rebuilt it from scratch and added some 1x2x5s. Hopefully adding a little more support to it. I did still have to fix it for this show though. But 1 or 2 in between, it worked okay. So, who knows? I've also considered making the slippers, the ruby slippers from Wizard of Oz, with a similar perspective, a similar idea to it of transparent red elements as little as possible for different, variety of parts. It's a fun challenge. And last but not least, we have Bart Simpson. I've wanted to make a bust of a character for a long time. Like, way back in many years ago, I remember trying to make a bust for Ben Franklin, and I've actually adapted some of that design in here, especially around the ears. Originally, this was going to be Homer Simpson, and I had only created the eyes and the nose area to try to get the rounded nature just using basic bricks. I know I could easily use slopes and things like that, and I probably could update this at some point, but I also like that, just like with the Big Bird, a basic element can be used to create some nice shaping, just like the Master Builder models, but on a smaller scale to it. This one at the show, unfortunately, has one of the hair spikes missing from the back. Oh, wait. I literally just found this right now. It never gets done, does it? I knew it was in the box. But the hair spikes do fall off during travel. It's usually easy to fix. And 1 or 2 things along the bottom, but pretty sturdy all the way around. I think there was one show where almost the entire head lifted off from the base of it. Again, might be worth a redesign at some point. It took me about 4 hours to build that with yellow elements, especially from BrickFair. And then we have a layout from my MOCs at BrickFair, New Jersey, 2021. And if you have any other questions about what I've built, how I built it, or what inspired it, or if I extend anything, let me know in the comments below. I probably should have also mentioned, while looking up Bart Simpson specifically, that people have asked me to make the rest of the Simpsons family. It's just going to be a lot of yellow and a lot of blue for Marge. But it's an idea I'm still considering, again, assuming I have enough parts for it. I do think it's funny of building a lot of sculptures now in yellow, but that could be a fun theme to it, even though the Cinderella slipper is not yellow. Thanks for watching, and have yourselves a wonderful day.